Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I like the Black Album was not my favorite album that you've produced. To be quite honest, it's Blue Murder. I love the Blue Murder album.
Well, I love Blue Murder too. Yeah.
So how?
But Blue Murder is different than the Black Album. It's like, this is the point. I think it was Jimmy Iovine in the Defiant Ones said, you know, a great producer is 10% of what the album is, and 90% is the artist. I mean, you're only as good as the artist, only as good as the songs, and only as good as timeline and stuff. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a prophet or anything, but it's like, really, it's very true. You know, actually, my favorite producer, I can go on record saying my favorite producer is Jimmy Miller.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, what else was he famous for besides the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, but why I love him so much is because he didn't change the Stones, but he made them better. And there's not a Jimmy Miller sound. What he did is he just kind of like magnified everything great about them and helped them. Like, I didn't know he played drums on Wild Horses and Happy and Tumbling Dice. Mm-hmm. Charlie, that play, right?
Yep.
You know, you see, do you know what I mean? So to me, that is a guy that just fills in what's needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they trust him so much that they can do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other great producers like that, like George Martin.
Oh, God,
you know,
yeah.
Pete Jones, and yeah, I mean, the list goes on. But right now, and for quite a while, it's been Jimmy Miller, because I listened to his catalog with the Stones, and then you go on to like he produced Blind Faith, which is not credited on the album.
Yeah.
There's no credit for him. He didn't get that, and he did that.
Did he?
What? Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And
I love Blind Faith.
Yeah, and the Spencer Davis Group with Stevie Winwood, right?
Yeah.
Give Me Some Lovin'?
Oh,
that's
God,
Jimmy Miller.
Is it? I see. I didn't know that. Oh,
you see.
Wow.
So if you go back in the history and you look at this guy, you know, I just get shivers talking about it. But you know, I'm like you. I'm still a big fan. So, and when I just listen to the records because I love them. You know, what happened is I never really listened to music in headphones, right?
Okay.
I just listened to it in my car and kind of work, right? And a stereo. But when you have kids and stuff, the stereo kind of goes in the closet.
Yeah, I know that.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I got 3, so yeah, I know.
So it's like, we have horses and stuff, and I go to the barn. I got to do all the chores and stuff. So I actually started putting music on my iPhone. And so I got all the re-release stuff. I know this is weird, but so I bought the catalogs of my favorite band. And like, I never, like all this stuff, like trying to figure out Jimmy Page's guitar parts when I was trying to play it as one guitar part and he's playing 4. Right? And like licks that I thought Keith Richards was playing is actually a combination of 2 licks because most of their recordings were mono. But when you're separating it, it was just like, the stuff is so fucking good. It's like ridiculous. And didn't like Exile on Main Street because it sounded so thin and everything. But the reissue is like, it's just like unbelievable how good it is.
Yeah, that is a huge difference. It sounds so much better.
Oh my God. I don't know I bought it in the day and it was like, I like the songs, but fuck. It distorted and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah. Oh,
said so.
Well, that brings me to a question I had for you. What I guess this whole show is about questions for you, so we'll keep going with it. Yeah. Kingdom Come. You know, you mentioned them. They were a great band. Their album was really good, and they didn't really hit. I mean, I remember one track, and then they kind of disappeared, and it was just told that they were kind of a Zepp rip-off and stuff. And should they have been bigger? And are Zepp comparisons unfair for bands like Kingdom Come and even new bands like Greta Van Fleet? Do you think they can overcome that Zepp comparison?
I mean, well, like, I really like Greta Van Fleet, and the guy's got a voice, and sometimes he sounds like Plant.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look at the Danish TV where they play Led Zeppelin, where Plant's like 19.
Oh, I've had that on bootleg forever.
Right? That show, right?
Yep.
Where he sings, Babe, I Want to Leave You. And you go like, this kid can sing, the Greta guy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He can sing. But it ain't like that. I'm sorry.
It's true.
You know, but you know, I bought Led Zeppelin 1 the day it came out at Hudson's Bay in Victoria.
Oh, wow.
Day one, I was there first as soon as it opened. Went down and bought it.
The infamous Canadian Red Label. Apparently, they're the best sounding pressing, some say.
I wish I had that pressing. Of course.
So
anyway.
No, that's fine. It's just, has there been something that you've worked on in production that you thought should have been a lot bigger? A band that you worked with that you were kind of surprised that it didn't hit bigger than it did?
Well, I think I can't really name one. I mean, you talk about Blue Murder. I mean, you know, they made a video with pyramids in it, and they wore dinner pants in the video. And Nirvana just came out. I mean, it could not go any worse, right?
Yeah, and the pirate shirts.
You know, working with them, you know, John Sykes, because when I got to know John Sykes, because the Whitesnake album was done at Little Mountain. And they were using Mike Stone, who's a great engineer. But after 3 weeks, they still didn't have a guitar sound. Oh, wow. So Mike Fraser was assisting that over, you know, said, Bob, you just come in and help us out. Just, John would like you to see what you could do. And, you know, I did what I did. Mike knew it. I didn't know why he didn't do it. But because he was my engineer for many years. But I just did what I did and got him involved. That was the key. I just said, John, I'm going to go out and move the mic around, and when I'll stop moving it when you stop playing, because you like that sound. So I did that with all his cabs and did this room thing. And he just went, oh my God, that's what I heard.
Oh,
right?
Man.
So then, then it was for life, right? So, yeah. So, and then when Whitesnake, he did Blue Murder, and he called me up. And he said, will you do it? And I said, yeah. Because John Sykes is a god to me.
Oh, he's amazing. And Tony Franklin. I absolutely love Tony Franklin's work with Roy Harper and The Firm. It's just mind-blowing to me that he can make a bass do what he does.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
As a guitar player, though, Sykes he's just mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
You seen the thing in Rio where he does the solo for like 20 minutes?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you got to see it. Put John Sykes, what is it? Strangers in the Dark. He's high.
Okay.
After all, it was the 80s. But you got to see this. Literally, it's like 60,000, you know, in Rio. He does a solo, and it's just ungodly.
I will definitely have to check that out immediately after this interview.
No, you got to see it. Incredible. You know, and he's there in front of 60,000 with his hair and there's a Les Paul. And you're going like, fuck, that's what I wanted to do.
And that was seriously, besides Led Zeppelin, that was one of the albums that really got me heavy into music. And it was just, the sound was incredible. The songwriting was great, but just the entire presence and sound of the album was amazing. So I got to thank you for that one, because I listened to that album straight for like 2 years. It was amazing. Oh, I wore out a couple of cassettes on that. So
yeah, it still is. It's still to this day when I put it on, it just fucking blows my mind.
Oh God, yeah. And I got the remastered version, and it sounds even better.
Yeah.
All right, so I know you've worked with a huge array of artists. You know, everybody knows that you've worked with Metallica, and some people know you've worked with Kingdom Come and Blue Murder, but you know, your lesser known works, stuff like, as far as I'm concerned, because it took me, I didn't realize that you had worked with some of these people until I started doing research for this interview. Was you worked with Cher, Michael Buble, a whole bunch of people that obviously aren't rock artists. Do you approach them differently than you would approach a Metallica or a rock band, Aerosmith, Blue Murder, something, you know, a band like that?
Well, I think the approach always becomes obvious, but really I think, you know, much like we were talking about Jimmy Miller, it's like I look at it, you know, I'm a song person.
Okay.
You know, I'm a song person and I like records. So it can, you know, that's what it's about to me. So the style of music doesn't really mean a whole lot. You know, it's the thing that happened with Buble was we have the same manager, Bruce, and he was working with Foster, and Michael had written a song, Everything, You're My Everything. You're a falling star, you're the getaway car, you're the line in the and Foster said it was a piece of shit and wouldn't record it. So Bruce says, we just go in the studio and just record this with Michael. And, you know, Michael's going, but he does Metallica. And Bruce says, well, no, you don't understand. That's not the only thing he's done.
Yeah.
I got great guys to come in, and we cut everything. And it was the only song that I did on that record, and it was the single, and it did well. And so Michael just went, you know, it was like, not to pan David, but David's got a thing that he does. And Michael loved it, and he did well, but there was a side of him that, well, what about this? You know, okay. And some producers don't want to go, what about this? This is what I know works. Right. So by the fact that there was like real musicians in the room and Michael could go to the guitar player, I want to hear it like this, and a guy could play it for him. And, you know, I used Josh Freese and all these guys I know.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean? It was like,
Josh is incredible.
When Josh was there, you know, and like if Josh, you know, the Vandals, Nine Inch Nails, blah, blah, blah.
Perfect Circle.
And he's going, want me to play on Buble? And I said, yeah. And he killed it. And the whole, so anyway, so that got me into the door, and I did more and more, you know. And now he's back with Foster, because he's, you know, back with that kind of thing that he has to do. But yeah, there you go. But to me, like when you talk about with Cher, it's like I had done something for Richie and John with her, and then she just said, will you do a couple songs? Okay. And there was an A&R guy, John Kolodner, who was involved with Cher and Aerosmith and all sorts of people, you know, like there was like A&R, there's no A&R guys now, but there was A&R guys from the 30s or whatever. There was guys that did that kind of work. So a lot of work came from certain guys that knew me, like Derek Shulman is Bon Jovi and Kingdom Come and Blue Murder.
So in this sort of A&R free environment, do you ever find yourself sort of A&Ring the artist a little bit in the studio sometimes these days?
Well, it's different, you know. I think so. I mean, I think coming from where I came from, it was always like the record company is part of the business end of it. And so you have to, there's always that thing of giving them what they want, because if you don't, they won't work for you. So it's always about giving them the single and realizing that and somehow getting that best track. Whether you don't, I've never known anybody that could just make a single. It's always hard work, writing a whole pile of songs, and eventually land on something that's special. And sometimes that doesn't happen. You know, in the 80s, you could kind of, with trickery, witchcraft, you could kind of make it sound like a hit record. And sometimes there were bad songs that sounded good. And, you know, in the 80s, you know, because of MTV, you could sell 1 million records. Kingdom Come did 1.5 million records.
Wow.
Right.
Man, that's awesome. That's better than I realized. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, in talking to a few people, I know that producers will sometimes do unconventional things to get a sound that they're looking for. I've heard stories of producers making singers run around the studio 6 or 7 times to get them pissed off and out of breath to get the anger that they're looking for in a vocal. Have you ever had to do anything kind of weird to get a sound that you want out of an artist?
Well, I think it's more about the musicians. I mean, with vocals, I mean, usually, like, the thing is that most musicians are scared of the studio. I've been in studio for 42 years, so it's not really. It's like home. Right. It's like my living room. Most people aren't in a studio for 42 years. So even like John Sykes, in Rio, he's a god, and all the time he's a god. And as soon as you press the tape, he kind of freezes up. Not because he can't play. It's that headspace of, oh, now everybody's going to hear this.
Okay.
Right.
So
there's developed over the years where you don't guide them. You put them in the position where they feel the most comfortable so they can be themselves. So, that's what you do. And I think that's what I've learned. I mean, when I was younger, I was a lot more opinionated about how things done. But really, I'm a sum of mistakes. My success is all about all the mistakes I've made in my life. Even as engineering, like I told you, I like Queen too. So when I mixed Armageddon, the Prism album, I pushed the tape and it was distorting. And when I mastered it, George Moreno saved my ass. The mastering genius that he was, right?
Okay.
Because I heard that Queen pushed it. But they had I had a fucking Scully, so so I could have been fired really easy, but George saved me, So there's all sorts of things that you learn, like that was a mistake. When you learn, it's like, I used to, work on the kick drum mic, then the snare, and and kind of when I mixed and stuff, and now, like I got to do a mix after this. What?
I was just pointing at Jordon.
Okay.
I was going to see if he had any questions for you.
Now it's just you kind of unlearn what you've learned. Is now I've got a set of what I do that I know work. Like I used to over EQ, I used to over compress, and now it all backs off, and now I get it to a place where I can do anything with it. Okay. When you first learn, you think you have to, it's like you have to use every knob. And then sometimes you do, but I'm just saying you don't, if you do it right. I worked with 311. This is a good example of analog.
Okay.
And they said, well, we always record analog. And I said, my argument is like, if you have a Neve, great microphones, and great instruments, you're gonna love digital because it'll be warm. Okay, a lot of people like digital or analog after digital because the sounds are shitty and they put it on analog and it gets dulled down, and that's not what it's about, right? It's not a plug-in. That's like getting a phase pedal or something, right? It's not because it comes back great. Because I learned that earlier. A lot of guys that never use tape, they love tape because it warms it up. But if anyway, the 311. So I said, I'm going to record the first song, tape, and digital.
Okay.
And I said, I'll play it back and you tell me which one you like. Which one did they like?
I'm going to guess digital.
Digital. Well, freaked out. But to this day, they still now go back to tape.
Oh,
their thing, right?
It's a habit.
Yeah. Man.
Well, I was going to ask something that's kind of related to what you were talking about. What do you find the biggest changes in your work day, your workflow on an average day in the studio? Say, think back to 1981 compared to 2018. Besides having to EQ immediately after recording something on tape.
Well, the thing is I felt comfortable, like I said, about 5 or 6 years ago, after working with Buble, and actually I did some work with Van Morrison. I did 2 tracks with him, and I mixed his album, which blew my mind. And I learned a lot with him. So, but the fact is like I was terrified. But then when I was in my comfort zone of being in a studio, I wasn't terrified.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I worked with him, he was confident. Like, he didn't know me. What happened is up for this album it's a duets album. So he got Buble's band to play. I recorded, mixed it, and he loved the way it sounded. So he said, will you do the rest of the record? Mix it, and let's do some songs.
Oh, nice.
And, but yeah, I guess it's, what can I say? I don't even know what I'm talking about.
When you think back to, like, say, Prism or Loverboy, in your mind, what did your day look like then as compared to, a day in the studio in 2018? What's the most startling difference?
Well, the big difference is back then, and for many, many years, probably 20 years, I was always searching. Mm-hmm. You see, the compression I used, the compressors on the Neve, really, for the first 5 years, I knew technically what they did. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know how to work them like I do now.
Musically, yeah.
Musically. I was just learning. Same
right.
Like a lot of, like all the albums. I mean, it was school. That's the best school. Not schools, but that was the best school, is making records constantly.
And Vancouver's always seemed like it has a very rich recording culture, and has for a very long time. Why is that? I mean, it's different than Toronto, and many great records made in Toronto, of course, and good studios. It seems that Vancouver got the head start as far as Canadian cities, and sort of has run the longest as far as like being a very active recording place.
The guys that came to Little Mountain, the engineers, were Toronto engineers.
Okay.
They were taught by English engineers. So they moved from Toronto out to Little Mountain and stuff. But we were blessed in Vancouver. Toronto has always been the center of the music business. And the West Coast thing happened because there was a lot of talent emerged at the same time. Mm-hmm. And in terms of Little Mountain, nothing was planned, but it's really, it's a lot of work. And we had this wonderful man who was the technical director, John Bertalsik. And then really that line from Little Mountain has moved to Warehouse. Little Mountain.
Right.
It's got same equipment, but really that the lineage of the people that actually make it all work has come to the Warehouse. And Brian built this. Thank God he built this. Mm-hmm. I'm here all the time because it is the best. I've worked everywhere, and this is the best studio in the world. Wow. And it's just not just the equipment, it's the people. And it's what he doesn't make money off this. He did this for the city of Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. This is not making him money. It's because, because he's into it. He loves to make music, and this is good for the community,
Amazing. Yep.
Well, you mentioned that you're most at home in the studio, but for a few years you played bass for Metallica. Was that a little bit out of your comfort zone? Did that give you any kind of, and I hate to be kind of goofy and use the name of the show, but did they give you any performance anxiety having to get out there on the stage with, Lars, James, and Kirk?
Well, not really. There's always a couple of moments, isn't there? Yeah. If we had time, I'd tell you a little more. Let's put it that way. The film itself is 2.5 hours in 2.5 years.
Oh, some kind of monster? Yeah.
And you have to put a story together.
Right.
First of all, Phil, the basically saved Metallica. They're a band because he was there.
Okay.
He's not afraid that, and he saved all their lives in terms of their marriages, in terms of he was worth every penny they paid him. Let's put it that way. You know, we had therapy, summed up 5 days a week for 2 years. Group therapy, all of us. Now, the thing is, to be quite honest, it wasn't, at that point, I'd worked with them for like 13 years. And, you know, we all came to the place, we shouldn't have done that. But, I mean, Jason quit the band. And he was kind of fragmented from the band when we did I Disappear for the Mission Impossible thing.
Okay.
So he didn't show up when we were doing pre-post, so I just played bass. Now, when Jason finally left, they were so broken that they said, we can't bring somebody up. Will you just play bass? They knew that I did that. And, you know, basically, you know, even Jason changed the way he was playing. When I came to like the Black Album, Jason played the guitar part. Everybody just played the same riff, right?
Right.
There was no what I would consider like the bass never acknowledged the kick drum, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of brought that to Jason's attention, right? And we worked on it. So there's counter things on the Black Album. It's subtle, but, you know, and then anyway, the point is that you don't have to necessarily have the chops of a bass player to play with a band. So what I did is I looked at playing parts as a producer, which, you know, I play producer bass. So I wait for them to be a band. I don't know how to, you know, somebody has to get thrown under the bus when something like that happens. Somebody's got to be taken to slaughter.
Right.
But
well, to be honest,
I wouldn't change anything because the thing is like sometimes, you know, you're immersed in just helping people.
Yeah.
You know, because it was fucked up. Make no mistake.
Well, it came across that way.
And it was fucked up. It was really fucked up. But like I said, I wouldn't change anything, you know. I'll tell you, sorry, if you want to talk about St. Anger. So yeah. I've had the shit kicked out of me over St. Anger, but thank God they did the Lou Reed album. Let's put it that way. But the thing is that I went and saw Jimmy Page is someone that I know now, which is like, come on.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, like, okay, so when it might get loud in Toronto, it might have been the hip. And It Might Get Loud was released, and there was a release party. So Jimmy was there, and the Metallica people were there because they managed Jimmy at the time. So they said, the management said, "You're here. We heard you're here. Come down to the party." So I went down. I was talking to Cliff Bernstein, and Jimmy comes by, and he goes, "Bob, it's so great to see you." Blah blah blah. Blah
wow.
Blah. While we're talking, Jack White comes over and says, "Are you Bob Rock?" And I said, "Yeah, Jack, blah, blah, blah." He says, "I love the St. Anger album."
Ah, amazing.
Awesome.
Wow.
And then he left.
That's it.
Right? So about a year later, I was at the Sunset Marquee, and he was eating breakfast with some people, and I didn't want to bother him. This guy I had a meeting with stopped at Jimmy's table and said, you know, "Hi, Jimmy, I'm here with Bob Rock." And he got up and he says, "Bob's here." He walked over to me and we started talking. He says, "I love the St. Anger album." So 2 people loved it.
Wow.
2 huge people.
And those 2.
They were the right people.
Exactly.
Yes. It found its audience, finally.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Oh, my gosh.
And actually, I was in Sweden this year, and I went to Iceland as well, but I was in Sweden, and a lot of people kind of recognized me, and every one of them loves St. Anger. So go figure.
See, look at that.
I just don't think I think they just judged it on what it was rather than the complaints. Mm-hmm. When I got Zeppelin 3 as a Led Zeppelin fan, the Immigrant Song was what I heard first, and then I bought the record and I threw it across the floor.
Wow.
Because they changed. Remember, it's a very acoustic album.
Yes, it is.
So it's blasphemy, right?
Right.
Betrayal.
So I get all the people that, I get this. I understand that. Yeah. Nobody likes change, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's been leveled on you for the Black Album, for Load, Reload. And like you said, that's more of the direction the band seem to be going. You can't tell them exactly what to do. They come in with ideas, and you help them get the sound that they want. That's it. So there's a reason why the Black Album did well, not just because of the sonics and stuff, but if you look at it, they're James's most personal lyrics. Right.
Right. Yep.
He hasn't written an album that's person, and he didn't before that.
That's true.
That album, all the songs are very personal.
That's very true. Mm-hmm.
That's why people relate to it. That's why everybody bought it.
I was in the last year of high school, and that was the first time I saw females listening to Metallica. It was a distinct change from Injustice to the Black Album. And the Black Tour
was the very first time I had seen Metallica live. I saw them in Rochester, New York when I was in college. So.
Well, I saw Injustice, and it was just bludgeoning. It was and it was a dude fest for sure. But it was amazing. I'd never seen that kind of power over an audience. It was unreal.
Still is. It's incredible.
Yeah. Always. Yep.
I'm very proud of what I did with them.
Well,
amazing.
Yeah. Well, you should be, because it's a huge album. It's one of the best selling albums of all time. So, but speaking of songwriting, now I know you're doing a project with a friend of mine, Che-Ami Dorval.
Yeah.
That's Roach, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that? How's that going, and what the focus is on that?
What had happened is when I was in Sweden, I worked making a drum library for tune tracks.
Okay, I saw that.
Okay, so when we were doing the drum library here, she's good friends of Matthias, the main guy at Tune Track.
Right.
So she came by the studio, and Matthias said she's blah, 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 met her. And Matthias says, have you ever heard her? And I saw her videos, and he says, do you have any material? And I've got a lot of material that, you don't stop writing, even though I don't work with Paul. He doesn't want to do it anymore, so you don't stop writing.
Right.
So I continue to write. And what I did when I wrote with Paul, I put together tracks. Okay? So we were in the room together writing it, I actually put together a whole track. That's what I was sent it, and he would write it, and if he liked it, he finished it, right?
Okay.
Basically, with Shay, he said, why don't you send a couple of your tracks? He heard them, and he said, send them to Shay. And I sent her this one track, and she wrote Blood Red Sun, which is the first song we wrote together. And to be quite honest, I was stunned at what I got back.
Wow.
Yeah. And further, and to be quite honest, so all we've done is it's just like, it's just a musical friendship, because she works with all sorts of people.
Right.
And I guess whatever I do, it inspired to write a song. So now I've got this, I can tell you that we've got this one great with Shay and Gord Downey doing a duet.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
So is there a timeline on when this stuff is going to be completed, you think? Released?
Well, we just finished another, she sang it yesterday.
Oh, wow.
This is number 7 now. We were just going to do 3, and then it's like, I don't know, there's no plan, but I think probably next year.
Okay.
It seems like a long way away, but it goes by real quick.
It does. It definitely does. And I know that pretty much wraps it up for me. Jordon, jump in with anything that you've got.
I would be remiss if I didn't say hello from Mary Catherine Harris. I spoke with her today, and she said hello. She used to work at Little Mountain. in the early 80s. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She says hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello back.
Great. I mean, I have one last random question, which is, Mark, you may not know, but, or you probably do if you know enough about Canadian music. In We Are the World times, in Canada, we had Tears Are Not Enough. And Bob, I believe you co-wrote with the rest of the gang on that one. Is that true?
Well, basically, this is a good Foster story.
You have several, and David Foster recorded one of the Payola's albums too, right?
Well, he did one album that basically broke up the band, and
Right.
well, it did break up the band. It was called All Hide in the Payolas, if you remember correctly.
I do, yeah.
Anyway, it was basically when that happened, Quincy phoned and he just said, "Do you guys have an idea?" And we said, "Yeah, we've got this song called Tears Are Not Enough." And he played it and he goes, "I like the title." Mm-hmm. Okay.
Were you there for the vocal session where everyone sang their parts and stuff? Okay.
I had to work, thank God. But,
I always wondered, because Neil Young looks so out of it in the video. I was wondering what kind of shape he showed up in.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
I don't know.
Probably
but
drunk.
There you go. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, man.
So, and another phone call, Herb Albert, we were signed to A&M Records, right?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Herb Albert phoned the second day we were there. And so Foster said, "Oh, Herb Albert's on the phone. Okay, guys, come on over. I'll put you on speakerphone." And Foster goes, "Hi, Herb, I'm sitting here with the Payolas." And he goes, "Who?"
Oh,
fuck.
And then he picks up the phone and who?
Oh, man. Oh, Bob, thank you so much for coming on with us. I know we've taken up a whole hell of a lot of your evening tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. We didn't even get to David Lee Roth, but we'll do that some other time.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
Unless, of course, you got any David Lee Roth stuff you want to talk about.
Later date.
All right.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun, and he's an amazing man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really is. I'm not kidding you.
I love that last record, too.
As a guy we just had the best time, and he's a character.
Well, he's the ultimate front man.
He's incredible. I will tell you, he brought the demos, and he was staying at the Four Seasons, and I walked into the room, and there was just a ghetto blaster and him, right?
Right.
So put the tape in, press play, and he sang every song in front of me doing his shit.
Wow, I love it.
I didn't know if the songs were good, but I just went, I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Oh, man. Hey, Bob, are you on social media at all?
No.
Okay. So everybody just keep an eye out for stuff that Bob Rock produces and works on, because it's going to be good. It's going to be good. All of his stuff, it. Anything that comes out with Bob Rock, listen to it. Bob, thank you so much for your time tonight. We really do appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
Okay. Take it easy, guys.